Hi, this is B. Mitch Reed along with Richard Kimball from the Santa Monica Civic Auditorium. And the house lights are about to go down for the appearance of David Bowie.
Through the market square, so many mothers sighing. News had just come over. We had 5 years left to sighing. News guy wept when he told us Earth was really dying. Cried so much that his face was wet. Then I knew he was not lying. And I heard telephones, opera house, favorite melodies. I saw toys and boys, electric irons and TVs. My brain looked like a warehouse, it had no room to spare. I had to cram so many things to store everything in there. All the fat skinny people, and all the tall short people, all the nobody people, all the somebody people. Never thought I needed so many people. Girl my age went off ahead, and some tiny children. If the black hadn't pulled her off, I think she would have killed them. Soldier with a broken arm fixed the stand to the wheels of a Cadillac. Cop knelt down at the feet of a priest, and a queer threw off at the sight of that. I think I saw you in an ice cream parlor.
Thank you for calling Collins Studios. Enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
I want to be warm. We got 5 years stuck on my eyes. 5 years, what a surprise. 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. 5 years, that's all we've got. We've got 5 years stuck on my eyes. 5 years, what a surprise. 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. I've got 5 years, and that's all we've got. We've got 5 years stuck on my eyes. 5 years, what a surprise. 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. 5 years, that's all we've got. That is her teacher, always needs some me till it comes on off a strong bench of life is put the song. Oh Lordy, you know I need some loving. Ooh, man, touch me. John, I'm only dancing. She turns me on, but I'm only dancing. She turns me on, but don't get me wrong, I'm only turns me on, but I'm only dancing. She turns me on, but don't get me wrong, I'm only dancing. I'm only dancing. She turns me on, but I'm only dancing. She turns me on, but don't get me wrong, I'm only dancing.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and call screener line. Please enter your 6-digit PIN number. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
I'm waiting for the man. $26 in my hand. To Lexington, 125. So sick and dirty, more dead than alive. I'm waiting for the man. Hey, white boy, what you doing in town? Hey, white boy, you're chasing all the women around. Oh, palm me, sir, it's the last thing on my mind. I'm just looking for a very good friend of mine. I'm waiting for the man. Da, da, da. There he comes, he's all dressed in black. Oh, real shoes, man, and a big sore hat. He's never early, he's always late. First thing you learn is that you've always got to wait. I'm waiting for the man. Brownstone building, up 3 flights of stairs. Nobody stops you, 'cause nobody cares. He's got the works and it gives you sweet taste, but then you gotta split because you've got no time to waste. I'm waiting for the man. Cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. Cha-cha-cha. Baby, don't you holler, darling, don't you bawl and shout. Oh, I'm feeling good, gonna work it
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios host and enter your 6-digit. Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
Strung out laces, slashed back blazers, ate all the razors, pulling the waiters, talking about Monroe, walking on Snow White, New York's a go-go, everything tastes nice, for a little green. Jane, Jane, lives on his back. Jane, Jane, loves him the snacks. He's outrageous, he screams and he falls. Jane, Jane, lets himself go. Looks like a man, but he smiles like a reptile. She'll love him, but just for a short while. Scratching the sand, won't let go his hand. Sells you beauticians, sells you nutritions, keeps all your dead hair from making up underwear. Poor little green. Jane, Jane, lives on his back. Jane, Jane, loves him in snacks. He's outrageous, he speaks and he falls. Jane, Jane, lets himself go.
Thank you for calling Call-In Studios
So
host and
simple-minded, he can drive his
enter your
motor,
6-digit.
lights on the neon, and sleeps in a capsule.
welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the Call-In Studio web interface.
Jane, Jane, lives on his back. Jane, Jane, loves
call. Please hold while we wait for the others to roll.
Hey man, Henry, don't be unkind. Hey man, Henry, get off the phone. I said, hey man, Henry, leave me alone. Don't leave me. Hey man, well my school days insane. I said, hey man, well my work's on the train. I said, hey man, oh sister took it from there. She said she had to sweet adventure. I don't lean on it, man. You should plan for the ticket. Back to Suffolk City. I don't lean on me, man. You should kind of go to check it. I'm back to Suffolk City. Hey man, Henry, don't be unkind. Hey man, I can't take you this time. No way. Hey man, I'll take it, don't crash here. It's only for one and it's kick up. Oh, don't lean on me, man. You should kind of go the ticket. I'm back to Suffolk City. Oh, don't lean on me, man. You should kind of go the ticket. I'm back to Suffolk City. She's out of sight. Oh, she's alright. Hey. Don't lean on me, man. You should can't afford the ticket. Back in Suffolk City. Oh, don't lean on me, man. You should can't afford the ticket. Back in Suffolk City. Oh, don't lean on me, man. You should can't afford the ticket. Back in Suffolk City. Oh, don't lean on me, man. You should can't afford the ticket. Back in Suffolk City. Who's outside? Suffolk City, oh, Suffolk City, yeah, she's so fine. Suffolk City, she's mine, all mine. Too top, Suffolk City, oh, Suffolk City, Suffolk City, Suffolk City, oh, Suffolk City. City, Suffolk City, oh, Suffolk City, woo, Suffolk City, woo, Suffolk City, Suffolk City, Suffolk City. Good night. Thank you.
Alrighty.
We have launched.
And we are officially starting the show. Double gulp for all that are listening. Welcome, everybody. Planet Green Trees, officially episode number... 330. The Almighty Burner, we're calling it. I'm your host, Michael Comorn, and thank you, everybody, for listening. We have a very, very exciting show for you tonight. Let me outline some of those details for you, if I can. Specifically, tonight we will be discussing, amongst other things, after being denied ballot access and shut out from even a single hearing in the three-state courts, MI Legalized Ballot Group has filed an appeal with the Supreme Court of the United States to consider issues of an undue burden and voter disenfranchisement, also major developments at Standing Rock. Calling in Lansing area attorney and leader of the MI Legalized Ballot Group, Jeffrey Hank, well-known military veteran activist Dakota Blue Cerna. In the studio also, MI Legalized board member Deborah Young and Anquinette, also known as Q Jameson. She's going to be joining us a little later, I understand. And her husband Richard may be with her as well. And of course, we're going to introduce all of our regular people, and we're going to do a couple shout-outs in a minute here. But let me start by saying I hope everyone's in the mood to listen to some good radio tonight. Because we're going to have some good radio.
Good radio.
We've been off a couple weeks, and we're about to embark on good quality radio. It's kind of a
not bad radio. Right.
rhetorical question. And, of course, I know that if you're listening to this show, you're listening because you want to hear good radio.
They want to hear Steve Miller and his notes, well compiled.
And when I asked it as really a rhetorical question, I want to be clear for the rest of the night. I will be doing a lot of that, asking like rhetorical questions. In other words, I'm going to ask you a question I don't expect you to answer. I'm going to answer it for you.
Right.
Okay? So everyone has notice of that?
Is that what a rhetorical question is?
Yes.
So what's the change then?
Nothing. I'm just giving everybody notice so when it happens, and I know what your answer is going to be, and I'm going to answer it for you, no one can say they didn't know. And with that being said, let me introduce who I now understand he calls himself the Teflon Chad. Why could that be? I have no... But he's our technical director, and he's from the law offices of Michael Camorn sometimes, and the Birmingham Compassion Club. Please welcome the Teflon Chad.
Good evening. It's nice to be here.
We were thought our news director is not here right now. We understand he is...
He is listening now. I would just want to bring up that the technical issues that were experienced during the intro were completely Chad's fault.
I couldn't hear anything when I called him.
Yep, that's
Teflon.
That was the issue.
Oh, so there's no anything. Okay, that's good. You know, while we're talking about those that are listening, you know, one of the big things now in Michigan is to have Planet Green Trees listening parties. So that's where Rick may be.
That's the big new thing.
And I want to point that out. If people are looking to couple up with other couples for these things, Deborah Young's here tonight. She's going to help set those up for us. And
We could have somewhat slack play live at those.
There you go. Moving around the room, though, Jamie Lowell is leaving the room. He's our producer, and he's got a goofy hat on tonight.
He's going to produce.
He's going to go produce and make sure. But he put the show together tonight. Also, we have to my immediate left here, Jim Powers of Parents.
Michigan Parents for Compassion.
I'm off.
It's good to be here.
Jimmy, thank you for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
As we mentioned, entering into the room with a big gulp is our good friend and retired police officer and member of the LEAP speaking board, and my good friend, as I said, Steve Miller.
Hello, good to be here. And I also want to say thank you for the nice words on the MMA website regarding Vice. It was very nice of you. And I am a better person now that I've been hanging out with you guys for a couple of years.
Did I say something like that? Oh, right, because I said you were, to your detriment, but, you know, right, because it's it was unfair. He's talking about, I tried to, we'll come back to that. But also we've got in the room, I see over here, Josh, who usually has his intern with him. We've still trying to get that guy back. No, I'm just kidding. Josh is here. Welcome, Josh. And really? Okay. And, of course, internationally renowned attorney, Guana lover, guitar player, Jeffrey Frazier.
Hola, buenas noches.
Alrighty, so as I said, we got let me do a couple of shout-outs. Deborah Young, I'm just practicing for next time because Deborah wants to do shout-out. I'm shouting out to you now. I know you're here, but for the routine next time, we're trying to...
This is the rhetorical stuff.
And Dewey and Pam, of course, Dewey, we ride tomorrow. Jeff will be with us. We're gonna...
Where is Dewey?
A long ride.
I got a question about Dewey. Did Dewey own Dewey's Tavern on M36?
We got to have him call in. Did Dewey own Dewey's Tavern on...
I passed it today.
M36. Maybe not. I don't know.
Dewey's Tavern.
Do we know?
I bet you it was his.
All right, we've got to our art director, David Light. I know every now and then Bernie Jockins and Elaine Gates listen. I know I think they're in Florida right now for the normal seminar that's taking place on there, I think. Let me see who else we said. MMA people that no one listens from over there.
Dr. Bogner just had a
Dr. Bogner?
new baby boy.
New baby,
So
right.
congratulations to
We're hanging
him.
All right. Congratulations.
See if anyone at the MMA is listening and if they want to be
I think
called out. All right, so I'm going to rant for a minute, and then hopefully things will fall into place and things will go smooth. All right, so there's always so much to talk about, and I'm going to allow the most recent frustrations that go on in court to be my guide tonight. We joke about it in my office. It's not really a joke, but Jeff Frazier from Texas brought this to my attention. It must be very difficult practicing law in Michigan when there's no Fourth Amendment. And I see that's to say that there's this suggestion that there is one. And there's this protocol that seems to, follow the suggested way in which the government may be able to step around those protections. But when you look at what's really taking place, you have to ask yourself, what happened to the Fourth Amendment? And what brought this week in the news was there's an article, Michigan's considered a border zone. Citizens subject to search detention, the ACLU says. And the story goes on to discuss and point out, and this is brought forth by the ACLU, that the immigration officials conduct warrantless vehicle searches and detentions of Michigan residents because the state is surrounded by the Great Lakes and is considered a border zone. Federal law gives U.S. Customs and Border Protections, or CBP, extraordinary powers, meaning the Constitution doesn't apply to them. So when I said there's no Fourth Amendment in Michigan, this is the evidence. And that is because they can detain people that are within the distance of the border. The American Civil Liberties Union is arguing. And they've set their own distance, which they claim as being reasonable, as 100 miles, which makes the state the functional equivalent of an international border, so says the ACLU. And this brings me to my guiding light tonight, which is that this is not far from what's taking place in the courts across the state of Michigan. I can report this. I've had these experiences. And what I'm talking about is just how there seemingly is like really no threshold whatsoever that you would expect in order for the government to get into the house. Of course, this is all driven by the war on drugs. There'd never been the type of litigation, the number of cases that are appealed, the number of search warrants that are sought, the number of motions that are filed, the number of trees that are killed, all to defend and argue about. If you went back and looked at all the amendments and did an analysis of which ones were most litigated in the courts, talking at the state court, the federal court, there's no question. Am I right about that? There's no question. It is the most litigated. If they're not being filed in every criminal case they should be involving a search warrant, it's got to make up the majority of the criminal procedure and substantive criminal procedure at the federal level. And there's a very good argument that our judicial system, those courts that I just mentioned, were never intended to be participating in this kind of legal work. That the Fourth Amendment was so guaranteed that it wasn't expected. That the federal courts in particular were supposed to be settling disputes between states. Now they are issuing opinions on search warrants as a regularity. And we're talking into the minutia of issues of what justifies probable cause of a crime and whether it's particularized enough and whether or not it's substantive evidence, substantial showing that evidence of a crime will be. And then, so it's been amazing. I think this is one of those situations that if the founding fathers, and this is so, unequivocally, reading the Federalist Papers and all that went into the protection of a person in their home. Of course, then a man in his home, but I say person in their home, the protections to retreat into the home and that be the castle for that person and not in a place to go to hide from the government, that they can't come in. And then to get to where we are as we've seen. And I'm talking, of course, about marijuana, medical marijuana in particular, and I want to point out how Michigan still, unlike the other states that have passed medical marijuana laws or legalized marijuana, wherein they have required the law enforcement community, when investigating marijuana investigations, to go and determine if the house or subject sought after is registered with the state to possess or authorized by the state to engage in marijuana behavior. Michigan stands alone in what can only be described as a abyss of insanity, in that despite the fact that the state has authorized you to engage in all kinds of marijuana behavior, throwing it out, making your house smell like it, jacking up your electric bills, putting things on your windows, sometimes called window shades. The police say unusual blockings on a window, common with indoor marijuana growing. Window shades or curtains, you know.
I just like my privacy.
Well, that's just it. It is about privacy. It is about privacy. It's about the government pounding in your door and coming in and ripping out your plants and taking, you know, when the state has authorized you to engage. And the problem is that the one time that there's been a chance to get at this and set the record straight was, it's been a long time, and I want to make a point about it being a long time. I'm going to offer up an argument for those that are listening. But the one case that controls in Michigan, and I hear it over and over again, and it's not even arguing anymore, it's like presumed. You know, it doesn't matter if they're a patient or caregiver. But this Anthony Brown case, which is the main controlling case, says that the police have no legal obligation to go out and find if the investigated person is a medical marijuana patient or caregiver. And they couldn't anyways, because the only way they can access the registry is if they have a card in their hand, where only under those circumstances they can punch in the numbers and they will get a read of valid or invalid. Or they can call the LARA. There's a number that they can call and access it that way. But that case is premised on 2 minutes to the break? Okay. That case is premised on the early interpretations of the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. And as many of you will recall, the first and second case that went to the Supreme Court, which identified the Section 4 and Section 8 protections generally, also identified that the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act did not legalize medical marijuana, that it merely created an exemption for behavior that would otherwise be illegal and an affirmative defense, blah, 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 about the affirmative defense. And that is how it was perceived in the beginning. And this Anthony Brown case relies upon Kalanick and People versus King, those two Supreme Court cases that really shed a limited identification of what the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act stood for. However, many may recall there's another case that came out called People versus McQueen, or State versus McQueen. And in trying to figure out how they were going to deal with the dispensary issue, the Supreme Court did a lot of unusual things, one could say. It was not an unanimous opinion. Kavanaugh, in his dissent, came up with a program and a plan that would actually facilitate patient-to-patient sales and beyond. That was not the majority opinion, however. But in coming up with what they described as this asymmetrical protection, whereas a patient can acquire from anybody, anywhere, at any time, and a caregiver is not protected for selling marijuana to anyone beyond their patients to whom they're connected through the registry. And only those individuals to whom they sell to would they be protected from arrest. I would say that those are defendable under Section 8, all those sales and transfers. But if it was observed by a police officer, they would, according to the State versus McQueen, be able to say you're not immune from arrest and they could arrest you. Now, what I think is important is that when they came to this conclusion that State versus McQueen allowed for the acquisition by a patient, they claimed this, that a patients have a personal right to the medical use of marijuana. They have a personal right. 1 minute? Okay. And this personal right, I'm going to suggest, is quite different than as the law was interpreted by the Supreme Court in the first two cases, which is that marijuana is illegal and only these limited exceptions. And this McQueen case came in time after, and it's a Supreme Court case after People versus Anthony Brown. I see that. And the point I'm trying to make is that we have now a personal right to use medical marijuana, and the Supreme Court has recognized it. So when the government is intruding into a person's house and they find out that they are a medical marijuana patient, the reasons for them going in are of no longer true. And as it has been said over and over again, a personal right before it's deprived needs due process, which means that they have to go back to the magistrate. All right, I see the shells coming on, and Jim Powers giving me the wave out. All right.
Wrap it up. If wants to call in, the call-in number is 224-803-3098. We'll be back in a minute.
Well, hold on. Let's get excited for a second, because into the studio, as we was ranting there, Anquinette Q. Jameson has joined us. Thank you very much for being here. Very excited.
Thank you for having me. Hello, hello.
We're going to take a break, and we're going to get into this, so we were very excited to have her here. And all right, you listen to Planet Green Trees, and we'll be right back.
Sleeping in a cherry tree high above a monastery, where the bells are ringing slow to say farewell when hours go. And all the while I'm dreaming of a ballad for my one true love, searching for the perfect way to say I love you, sweetheart. This is my dream come true, and God bless the babies that sleep in you. God bless the babies that sleep in you. Sleeping in a motel room underneath a silver moon, and with the windows open wide, I can hear the stars go by. And all the while I'm dreaming of the ballad for my one true love, searching for the perfect way to say I love you, sweetheart. This is my dream come true, and God bless the babies that sleep in you. God bless the babies that sleep in you.
Alrighty, thanks for staying with us. You listen to Planting Green Trees, episode number 330. The Almighty Burner. And without further ado, we are going to have joining us Jeffrey Hink, the executive director of the MI Legalized Board. Welcome, Attorney Jeff Hink. Thanks for joining us.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm having a little bit of trouble hearing you on my end.
You're coming in strong over here. We've had all kinds of technical difficulties. I'm going to keep just pretending like nothing's really wrong. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little jagged, but let's roll with it.
All right. Yeah. Roll with it and don't mention it if you don't mind, okay? Just because it's annoying the shit out of me. No, okay.
This is like a wartime transmission. You know, imagine we're sending this cable transatlantic for cannabis liberation.
They're listening. They know we're coming at it. They know we're coming for them, so they're listening. So probably. And if your phone's not bugged, then there's something wrong. Let's be honest. Jeff Hanks. So what's going on? We filed this the what is it? Application to the Supremes or Federal Circuit Court.
Long story short, what's been filed is called a petition for a writ of certiorari. This is an appeal from the Michigan Supreme Court to the United States Supreme Court. It is the last stop on the train for justice. There is no higher court with authority to potentially resolve this case. And if we do not win here, it's over.
Isn't there a Star Chamber like above the Supreme Court? Isn't that a... No, kidding. There was a movie about that, wasn't there?
The global government.
I don't know. I just read that thing about this other super police. What was it? That thing that I read from that article. So what's our issue? Give us our best arguments, Attorney Hank, in terms of. Well, first of all, for those that don't know, the writ of certiorari is you got to get the interest of the Supreme Court. They don't take how many they get, about 4,000 or 5,000 a year. What's the number on that?
Yeah, I don't know the exact numbers, but so it's very, they get a decent amount of cases. It's very rare that your case is actually heard, even with it being a good case. The Supreme Court just cannot handle them all. They only handle, a very small caseload. So we have somewhere between probably a 1 and 10% chance off the bat to get heard. But the crux of the case brings up important violations of 1st, 5th, and 14th federal constitutional rights. The 1st, 5th, and 14th Amendments applicable to the state, primarily placing undue burdens on the right to petition. Now, there's a couple other nuances to that, such as some of the policy and the language being unconstitutionally vague. We have due process arguments as well as equal protection arguments. But the strongest argument is the First Amendment undue burden. And the primary United States Supreme Court precedent that we rest upon is Meyer v. Grant, which is a Colorado case, unanimous decision coming out of the United States Supreme Court, striking down bans on paying circulators. And the issue is not the same, but this has also been applied to residency requirements for circulators. We've seen that strike down in Michigan, including the Don Conyers case. It's the same analysis, which is a strict scrutiny analysis, that if the state is going to impose a burden on the petition process, they have to have a compelling state interest, and that compelling state interest has to be, achieved through the least burdensome, most narrowly tailored means. And there is no doubt in our case that wasn't provided. We could have, and we did, prove every single voter using the qualified voter file, which is also what the state was supposed to do. Obviously, we were not able to rebut the presumption of staleness on the signatures older than 180 days, only because the state wouldn't allow us to. We didn't have a procedure that was actually usable or workable. And that cuts in two ways also. because there's the general undue burden of just this being a very tough logistic process. But it's also an undue burden because the state frustrated that process and made it actually impossible because local clerks wouldn't comply. They had no legal duty to comply. This would have cost millions of dollars. So there's some other, United States Supreme Court precedent that goes to the analysis of the undue burden. But what the case boils down to is the state placed undue burdens on qualifying the MI-legalized signatures. They had no right to do this. They should have given us a reasonable process. If those signatures were valid, they should have counted. And similar to Meyer v. Grant, what the United States Supreme Court said there is that Colorado's Constitution provided for a certain percentage of signatures to place an amendment on the ballot. The same thing as Michigan's Constitution, Article 2, Section 9. So if the United States Supreme Court agrees that this process either violated our First Amendment right by placing undue burdens on the process, or our Fifth Amendment, due process, 14th Amendment due process, equal protections. And although we didn't really raise it as a core issue, we do, use language that this is a takings, a regulatory takings of our property interest as well, because, we do have a property interest in these petitions. There was an investment of money in these petitions. They're valuable. And you can't have a reliance claim against the government, but, we had investment-backed expectations that were frustrated by regulatory actions and inactions. The state could have counted these signatures or asked us to count these signatures or prove them in some less burdensome, more narrowly tailored means. And the only interest that the state has is ensuring that registered voters are the ones placing a sufficient number of signatures. So if you look at Meyer v. Grant, our case is spot on. It's the same analysis. Low chance that the court will hear it, but fighting for everyone's votes are important. We've already put this much into it. We said we would go to the bloody end. We're going to the bloody end, no doubt about it. If we win, obviously it's the ultimate victory, and it's important. We promise everybody we fight for their signature, and it's a good case. So despite it being a good case, we might not get justice there, and that's why it's onwards with MI Legalized 2018.
Well, one thing is, I think in your favor is that the voting issue is kind of a hot issue right now. I don't know if it's this exact issue, but I don't know where they've stood on voter ID. Isn't our legislature about to pass some? They did, right? Okay, good. No, not at all.
No,
but
it's not good.
It's terrible. It's a joke. And Best Way, I don't know if this issue has it gotten there before? Has this been? Does anyone have a?
What?
If this issue's been litigated, this voting issue.
No, not this specific issue.
Not the MI legal as I'm talking about the voter ID.
I don't believe that it's been litigated. No, I know that they are passing a law, and it's going to affect approximately 18,000 Michigan voters that didn't present ID in the last election. And when you look at the demographic breakdown of those 18,000, 30% of them are in the city of Detroit. So tell me again.
Unequivocally, it's a total based on. Yeah, it's it's unclear why they want to create more limitations to have people vote. You think you want to open access? In the old days.
Here's one for it. Let's compare what's going on with MI Legalized to the presidential recount. So, they're claiming the presidential recount would cost $3 to $5 million. It costs nothing for the state to validate our signatures because we can already give them the proof that there were enough people validated. All right, and so then they start this recount, and then they stop the recount in the middle of it. What kind of sense does that make? And they talk about the cost. The cost is like, if it was even attributed to a person, down to you or me, it's like pennies. It's pennies. So what we've seen is the courts in Michigan and the Board of Canvassers in Michigan have very little interest in counting valid votes or finding out what the problems are in the voting process or the petition process, and they don't want to fix them either. Because we started this whole process out, this whole case we've got going on, is because the Board of Canvassers wouldn't accept the actual law that we could prove these signatures were valid. And they tried to stop us by all means, and they refused to give us any way to do it. So you see these same four elected people, basically creating this culture where our rights are not being respected. I mean, they're under siege, really. They are under siege. And when we came to the Board of Canvassers originally, it was on the heels of the prevailing wage petition being the most fraudulent petition ever submitted. That was right before us, the year before. And we gave a proposal by using the qualified voter file, which is less burdensome, and the state does it anyway by law. They could check all of these signatures and largely eliminate petition fraud. Now, someone could still fake a signature, and fly by or something, but they would basically eliminate a lot of fraud, and they refused to do anything about it. So I started going on a rant here, but we're fired up because our voting rights, our petition rights are under attack, and you got this legislature claiming that they care about the integrity of the election system. They don't. They could have taken up our. We testified. Rick Thompson was there with me about this proposal in the House Elections Committee, and they failed to adopt it. They didn't even touch the fraud issue. But what they did do is they took away our right to petition. So it's possible also that the Supreme Court could strike down. We did ask to strike down the 180-day limit altogether. That really wasn't the core of our case at this point, but you never know what could happen. They could strike this down. Because the lower court record remained undisputed that this was an undue burden on the process, and we never had a hearing in Michigan. So that's another big problem. You look at this voter thing. No one's getting any due process here. What about all these people in all these counties and precincts whose votes are unrecountable as part of the recount? I mean, what's going on with the integrity of our system?
Half the year is totally unsuitable for petitioning in Michigan.
That is true.
So it effectively the 6-month time window effectively reduces the overall right to petition.
Right. And it's in the face of the intent of the citizen-initiated legislation path that we have here in Michigan. The whole point is for it to be a safety valve where the citizens can effectively legislate themselves when the legislators refuse to do so.
Citizens have the final say.
And this takes it away. I mean, we spent over $1 million on our campaign, and we were unable to do it in 180 days. I mean, if you're not a big corporation, don't have access to big money, you are not going to be part of this process. That's all there is to it.
I wonder how many writ of certioraries are being voted on, and they're getting a 3-3 vote. And they don't get granted to come up. It's with the missing.
Well,
yeah.
So it's real interesting because we're coming in. We probably won't know for a few months, but we're coming in with the possibility of a new United States Supreme Court justice. Our petition, most curiously, in the main text, doesn't actually use the word marijuana. It is, of course, in the subtext of the case. If you read the appendix. It's really a voting rights issue, so it'd be very interesting to see how a potentially new bench on the Supreme Court could deal with both marijuana and the voting rights issue on a national level. If they take the case, something's going to happen. They won't take the case otherwise. So if anything happens, we're going to be in for quite the ride. But unfortunately, it's tough to say when we would find out or get relief. So for now, just fingers crossed and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, let me say this:
this writ will be granted.
As you're crossing fingers, let's just do some fun predicting here for a second. Knowing what we know about some of the choices that have been made thus far with the new administration, and the unequivocal, choice he's going to make, whomever they may be, to appoint somebody. Do we think that they're going to be on the side or favor of expanding citizens' rights to ballot access and law change? Just throwing it out there. Let's see. Let's go around the room here. Jim Powers, yay or nay on that?
Well, what I'll say is that elections issues are usually taken fairly seriously by the federal courts, and at its core, that's what this is. But if Schuyler were here, he would indicate that there's several things that the Supreme Court in its current state just isn't going to touch, and this has to do with marijuana. So I don't know which way it'll go, but I'm hopeful. I think we've got a good case. We've got a good, solid argument.
It's really not about marijuana, though. I'm just saying, no.
It's not, but it is.
It could be anything. Why? I mean, did the other people join in it? The frackers. The frackers.
I'm sure they'll probably file an amicus brief.
Well, the frackers are part of the case
Well,
that
actually, I think
you guys are a part of, and
Right.
We would like,
and they're in state court. Sorry.
we invite amicus briefs we please do. If anyone is interested, spread that word far and wide. The more people we have commenting on this, the better.
For sure. And hopefully, hopefully they'll see it for what it is, and that's a voters' right issue, and it's an important one because our Constitution, the core of life in Michigan, is very specific, and it says nothing about a 180-day limit, and allowing for the full, almost 4 years to petition allows grassroots organizations with not a lot of money to participate, and that's important. Yep, wrap it up. Michael says we're wrapping it up. So, Jeff, thanks for calling in, man. Thanks for all your hard work. Really looking forward to what happens. Do you have any final words for the Planet Green Trees audience?
Rock on, guys. We're going to do it one way or the other. It's an important fight, so I appreciate everybody's support along the way.
Right on, man.
Thank you very much, Jeff Hank. Have a great night. We look forward to talking to you soon. Then we're going to take a quick break and come back with our in-studio special guest.
Yeah, and we've got Dakota on the line as well.
Is he next? Well,
we've got lots of things going on. We're queuing people up. Chill out. Chillax, man. It's fun.
Wait, are we queuing Q up or are we queuing people up? Which is it? Make up your mind, Jim.
Experience, so I'm good.
Chad.
I'm fine sitting back and watching all of this unfold. So
we're gonna come back to Q and then we'll go to Dakota. It'll be good. It'll be great.
I'll take a quick break and be right back.
Yeah.
We could sit beneath the evening, let the day turn blue. I could never let the darkness replace the thought of you. Come on, darling, let's catch that train to wherever we call God. Maybe it's in Massachusetts or maybe not. It's just you and I. It's just you and I, my dear, you and I. It's just you and I. Let's keep our boots pointed west, stay left of the police. Well, I know you're like a freight train to escape your family. You got a father who has done you wrong and a mother who doesn't care. Get your backbone up, my darling, let down your hair. It's just you and I. You and I, my dear, you and I, it's just you and I. When all the world turns into hospitals and jails, I can always count on your love to be my babe. And we'll go traveling on from year to year. Just you and I, my dear. I got my backpack full of 14 cartons of cigarettes. I got a bumper sticker on my chest that says no regrets, no regrets. I got your love draped all around me like a big black cape, a big black cape. All the billboards on the highway say, don't be late, don't be late. It's just you and I. It's just you and I, my dear, you and I, it's just you and I. When all the world turns into hospitals and jails, I can always count on your love to be my babe. And we'll go traveling on from year to year, just you and I, my dear. Well, I woke up in the middle of the kitchen floor. I was listening for you knocking, but you weren't outside my door. And I know that you won't be coming round in the way I want you to. I wish you'd throw your arms around me, but it's not for me. It's not for me. It's not to be. It'll be just me. And I know I never told you how I felt, but you could never understand the blues that you have dealt me. So I'll keep traveling on from year to year, just you and I, my dear. Just you and I, my dear. It'll be the same every year. It'll be just me, my dear.
Alrighty. We're back. Thanks for staying with us. Got about 55 minutes left here. Almighty Burner, episode number 330, Planet Creatures. Without further ado, I think Jim Power is going to connect us to Dakota. Welcome, brother.
Hey,
you
how
there?
you guys doing?
All right. So for those of you that don't know, you were on a mission with a bunch of other military veterans and went out to the North Dakota. And you're here to report on that experience. Please tell us.
Slow down.
Hey, I'm not hearing you guys. You kind of sound like a mumbled robot. I apologize. Let me move around the house. But yeah, I went up there with the other veterans moving. It was a veteran stand for Standing Rock. I also went out there. I was reporting for a group called Veterans for Standing Rock. And yeah, we went out there. We made it out there. What was it? This last Friday, we made it out there the 3rd, and we set up camp and then joined up with the other veterans. And yeah, we ended up going up there to the front lines and seeing where all that bullshit went down with the police spraying the protectors with water.
You know, and I don't know if you can hear me. I'll try to talk loud and slow, but some of the tactics.
No, it's okay. It must be my connection. That's all.
It's not.
All right.
It's Chad.
It's Chad. We're blaming Teflon Chad. But I noticed, and you are more aware of this, because these are like war tactics. Like when people were out there protesting, the things that were going on, they were doing the flyover with the helicopter so nobody can sleep. Like there's no restfulness. So they wear you down because like all throughout the night when people should be resting, at least getting some, shut down on the keeping people awake. And then during the day, or they're playing music and spraying cold water, right? And there's a couple other, I don't know, there's some other tactics that are used to wear them down. What's that? Concussion grenades.
Those were the stories. We heard quite a few of those when we got there. When we had got there, they had roped off. They had put a rope across part of the road so they wouldn't let anybody get too close to the bridge. So there was a standoff distance, so we weren't able to get right up to the police and the law enforcement there. But as soon as we got there, me and a buddy walked right up to that rope and was looking at the positions of everybody. And immediately there was like, I don't know if it was because we were there, or if it was like a shift change or whatever happened, but just like truck after truck after truck just poured over the top of the hill on the other side of just it filled with law enforcement guys and security. And I noticed one of their snipers was aimed in at me. I saw the glint of his scope there for a second. And then
That's what
they
it was.
were flying the helicopter up. Every 5 minutes, that helicopter was going over. Then they had one of those planes going overhead taking pictures. And there was a presence on their side. Every hilltop on their side of the river, they had people there watching us and recording us.
I think he's gone.
No, he's there.
No, he's there.
I just have been waiting.
He's waiting for another line of questioning.
How cold is it out there?
What were the other protesters' emotions? What were you sensing about their, the fight?
We went ahead of the main veteran group. There was a little team of us that went up ahead there, and it was just almost like a sigh of relief. And as soon as that group of veterans came and they came pouring in, it was just like everybody was kind of rejoicing. Everybody got a prayer circle that held hands, and probably like 6 out of 10 people were veterans. There was so many people there, and the mood was amazing. The people were beautiful. The protectors there, they'd been taking a beating for a while, but they were so hospitable. The elders, the Lakota Nation, everybody was there working hand in hand, making this thing work. And it's, if you needed anything, if you needed medical attention, there was somebody that would take care of you for it.
So I spoke.
And we didn't have any clashes with law enforcement, and they didn't keep up those helicopter patrols. That's for sure. But everything was pretty peaceful. And then one day, all of a sudden, we got word that the Army Corps of Engineers had denied the permit, and so the drilling was supposed to stop, but that's not the case. We come to find out. So after that had happened, man, everybody was singing, dancing, crying, holding hands, and it was just a really good mood there for about a day or two until the blizzard kicked in.
And I was about to bring that up. I spoke with Sharmy today. She just got back. She was out there with Mike Diesel, who was on the show here 3 or 4 weeks ago. and they had camping out in the blizzard. Sounds pretty rough. But what is the current status?
Yeah, we'd left a couple days before just because we had one of our crew members had a death in the family, and then one of our guys actually got really, really, really sick. So we pulled out just in time and got back home, got all that stuff situated.
What's the actual current status?
What about Alan?
Everybody's saying different things. The most believable one right now that's going around from the eyes on the ground, people that we've been communicating with personally, they're saying that the people or the oil companies are not stopping the drilling because it's only like a $55,000 a day fine for them to continue drilling. So they just basically said, screw you, to the government, whoever, the president, whoever told them to stop, and they're continuing the drilling.
Okay.
Until they get fined, they'll keep doing it. I mean, if they can afford the fine, they're not going to stop. Unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's not unless they're going to hold them in criminal contempt or something. But I don't see that happening. Even though corporations are people.
Especially with the change of administration.
Right.
Well, it's the movement out there woke up a lot of people. The whole world was watching. When we got out there to Standing Rock, man, there was people from all over the world there showing support. Palestine, freaking Israel, everybody was there, and everybody is really good to them, to each other. And I think we really, got the government shaking. Not so much the government, but these corporations that control the government, that we actually caused some change and got some positive results without having to, fire a shot or hit anybody. We actually presented a peaceful protest, and it did something. And so now the veterans, this movement that keeps going, we're going to make our way to Flint next, and we're going to get that water crisis fixed. And then it's just going to keep the ball rolling, wake up more and more people who just want change, who are sick of sitting around, being screwed over, being poisoned. And so if they're not going to take care of us, this beautiful government of ours, we're going to do it ourselves. And so hopefully, it can inspire more, and it just, take us down a different path than we've been going.
One of the things that was we haven't talked about, and it just goes on without really being spoken about or pointed out, but who are the people that are on the other side? It's certainly not the investors or the people that run the corporation. And it's certainly not the employees that intend to drill. It's law enforcement. And the question at SBS is what is their legal position? I mean, if there's no authorization to drill, which was the issue, right? There was not, and there has not. But
well, technically, the pipe is just outside of reservation land. So, they're saying that the water protectors are trespassing, and I see their side of the story. So then the law enforcement officers kind of have to do their job. But come to find out, it's North Dakota is by far the most racist state I've ever been in. It was scary driving through there. And then the sheriff department actually deputized private security and made them into sheriff deputies.
That's what I was saying.
Not just regular law enforcement.
That's what I wanted. Right. That's what I was saying, because there was not.
They hired some muscle.
Yeah. So they had some security for the pipeline, and they were, what you're saying, became government officials, so they didn't have to put their own out there. And then they are untrained in probably law enforcement. And it's a bad situation.
Is that standard operating procedure, Steve Miller, where departments will just deputize private security guards? He doesn't have a mic, Chad.
He's got one now. I've never heard of that in my life.
Oh my!
Sounds dangerous. Do you remember all that stuff that was going on, Steve Miller?
That situation is not going to end well with that.
Do you remember when back in the day when there was all there's 2 or 3 people that got killed at Fairlane?
Yes.
Remember that? There were a shoplift and the security guards killed them. You remember?
Right. I do remember.
That's why it's not. You're right. It was just that's the mentality that they.
Those types of guards are not held to the same standards as law enforcement.
No, and I'm saying that's what
they don't have the training, the education, or anything that law enforcement does. You're throwing some cowboys in there.
But who are these people working
privatizing
for
police?
You think it's any different? It's like the same guys they get to hire at the mall, the ones that want to be a part of whatever the NSA or the TSA, right? The travel. You know what is that? What that is?
TSA.
Right. That's the people that would vote. You know, want to be part of the, or they're like some kind of security. I don't know. I don't be.
Dakota, is there going to be any more organized?
They're playing
veterans
dirty, man.
trips?
They're playing really dirty out there. They're hiring people to instigate, hostility. Make it look like the protesters and the protectors are the ones that are being, aggravating. But really, it's actually, paid crisis actors almost, and definitely make it difficult to keep the peaceful message. But that's the nitty gritty of it. Is no matter what happens, it's peaceful and nonviolent. As long as we can keep that in heart, then nothing can hurt us and nothing can stop us.
I was going to ask a question about how the military sometimes is forced into other countries for the government's economic interest. I think you can tie that back in a lot of the wars that have taken place, and I feel like that's what was kind of taking place here, And there was such a paradox or irony that, that this kind of stand-up was potential. I just had it's such a weird, you know what I mean? Like that whole, I know you guys have all intention of being peaceful, but just the way the two sides line up, it just seems so, you know what I mean? It's just they're antagonistic, and it really shouldn't be. But I think it's very heroic what you guys did, and it's something that we haven't talked about, and I guess I can only blame that on Jamie Lowell, and we've been talking about it for a long time, but. Nobody knows this because no one's talking, but we are running a clothing drive
This is the announcement, right?
This
here.
is it right now. It's like let's wait to the end of the conference.
It could have been done in like a much nicer and more
accommodating
and effective
at the
way,
end of
but
the interview when it's over, and he's when Jim's ringing the finger, and we got to get. At that point, no. But we are running a clothing drive right now. We're at right now. It's at Comorn Law Office. We've got a bunch of clothes, and it's a perfect time because there's some sweaters and stuff, all for the veterans in your journey, and to give away to other people within the mothers and daughters, sons and daughters of.
I saw Josh rooting around in them. What was up with that?
That's not. But listen, do you understand what I'm saying? We have been collecting, and we've got a number of boxes. We're going to continue to do so for a clothing drive for the the sons and daughters that you and Josie have, and for the veterans that you're crusading with. I wanted to let you know that, and we're encouraging anyone that's listening to, send clothes that you're trying to give away, and we're going to help get them to Dakota and Josie.
No skid marks, please.
Well, I appreciate that, man. We're going to be out in Flint this Saturday. We have a Jam Shack. We're having a meeting. We're going to be discussing what's going on in Flint and what the people of Flint need and how we're going to take care of that situation. So if you guys want to stop on out at that, it's at 6 o'clock in the evening, and it's free. It's open to the public. So if you guys want to stop on by, it'd be awesome to see you guys.
We're going to try to do that. Jamie, I think, is volunteering. He's going to maybe even bring the clothes and do the drop-off.
He said he's going to run a van with no windows.
Very suspicious.
I wouldn't waste it on bringing things to charity if I had that.
Well, thank you so much, Dakota. Have a great night.
Be safe out there.
For everything you do.
Hey, thanks for having me on, you guys. You guys take care.
Say hi to Josie
hopefully
for
I'll
us.
see you guys Saturday. If not, then hey, sometime down the road.
Take care, brother. Talk to you soon.
See you, man.
I love you guys.
Love you too.
All right, here we go.
Here we go. What's that call-in number? I don't remember. It's 224-803-3098. This is really it's been a comedy of errors this evening.
I'm having a good time.
And
I
attribute all of them.
No idea what you're talking about.
All of them to Jamie. 224-803-3098.
Got it.
Yeah. This is Planet Green Tree.
Hey, it's time for a special interview. Are you ready over there?
Musical interlude. Oh, let's go right to Q.
Right. I mean,
we'll just forget the shell.
So we're very excited and honored to have. What?
We're dissolving the shell.
But, I mean, we're just going right into it because we're not going to have enough time.
Don't get so defensive.
I mean, all right. Don't wave the finger. All right. So this is big news, and I'm very excited to have it. I don't want to not make this point, which is that this is a very courageous individual we have sitting with here today. You know, for many years, and there's this real passion that people have with their morning TV. You know, and that's and they get to know the individual and feel like they know them because they wake up with them and they expect them to hear. And that's where they get their news from. So it's a very special, unique relationship that you were in with the viewers that you were interacting with. And I know you were open, and if I understand, you did discuss your MS with that. Is that right?
I did. A year after I was diagnosed, I went public with my diagnosis. Yes.
But of course, the other, the interest in medical marijuana and how that was going to be is always a different topic. And I know that that was not discussed until
I was officially done with the company.
And we won't ask or put any pressure on what would have happened had they known, or you discussed it before, and what was terms that would have. No. Right, I know.
No,
but
my last day, I officially separated from the company on October 31st, and I announced on November 1st. So yeah,
and
fine, gone.
And that's really, we laugh about it, but that's kind of things. We know that it is, and we can say that it's wrong. Because it shouldn't be.
Oh, absolutely. And there are lots of places where, coworkers, you may trade a pick me up or something to help, someone sleep. And then no one has a problem talking about, oh my gosh, I took a Vicodin. Or, oh my gosh, I need an Adderall. But heaven forbid you say, you ever think about just, grabbing a vaporizer? I could never. I mean, even people whose doctors have said to them, maybe you should consider it. And I was floored. People, when I came out with having MS, people would call me and I would call them and say, well, have you tried, cannabis? And they said, no, I would never. I said, well, have you talked to your doctor about it? And yeah, my doctor said that I should try it. I said, well, why won't you? Well, I don't know. I just could never do that. There is such this wall this line that we've been fed for so long that
drilled
people
into people's
it
heads.
is, and it's like people are going against their own best interests just because of what they thought. It drives me insane. So that's why I decided I had to say something, because I when I was prescribed a $70,000 a year drug, I lost faith that there was going to be a cure for MS. Right. So.
And those drugs for MS, those are serious. I mean,
and they're forever.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
Right.
Were you engaging in? And if you don't feel comfortable,
I'm open. We can talk about everything.
Were you a patient during the period of time that you were on air? I mean, not.
Yes.
But you had been using. See, that's what I think is the most important thing, which is that the people that loved you and felt intimate and knew you, they didn't know that about you.
Right.
And when they learned of it, they may have even been surprised, but they shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Because you are who they love, and it doesn't matter what what medication, that shouldn't change the way they look at you, but
it most certainly would have. Sure,
right, but
of course.
it shocks them, probably, in different age groups, different categories, different parts of our society will even look at it differently, and I say that because from your, like in the black community, I would suggest that and think that it was even more reactive and in shock. Am I right about that?
Oh yes. I'm sorry. I'm laughing because yes, I even in coming out, I've already had contentious conversations with members of the clergy. So yes, that's already happened, but that's okay. I expect that, and it doesn't change a thing. It doesn't change a thing when people ask about my use. I say to them, cannabis gave me 2 more years at work, plain and simple. I was sick, and that first year I wasn't going to make it. And because of cannabis, it gave me a few more years in the workforce. And if you look at studies and stories, this is the case for a lot of people in their 50s and 60s. It alleviates some pain, and it helps give them a little boost. So why not?
It's interesting because you are, you left on your own terms. It wasn't like, something bad happened and everyone loved you and they're like, it should have some significance, and it's probably going to have an impact. And, your courage, I think, will have it's going to change the way people think, and it's going to help move things along. And I know you're actively involved with the Am I Legalized campaign. Of course, Deborah Young is here with us, and Deborah, grab one of those microphones and jump on in. I know you've been at some of the speaking engagements, and you're involved. What are some of the things you guys have been doing, and how is the? I mean, you talked a little bit. What has the experience been now that you are, out? I guess is.
Well, you mentioned the black community earlier, and as a member of the black community, I know that we have some stereotypes to straighten and to rectify, and we have more people who are successful in life need to be honest about their cannabis use, because if the whole world paints all of us as, stoners living in our grandma's basement, then that's going to be a problem. When I was open with my cannabis use, that's when I found out that so many people and so many professional people you would never think would use on a regular basis. And I really hope that in coming forward, it encourages other people to come forward, because this is madness that's going on. And I feel like I was complicit in that madness, because I felt like, well, I didn't know about all of this. And I didn't just watch the news. I was the news. And these stories don't get out. People, 70-year-old women being, raided in their dispensaries that the mayor and the police chief said were okay, and it's just this. I've watched, the testimony at the state house for people, and I keep clippings. Some woman had her. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they took her vibrator.
It's my client.
They took her vibrator.
It's Michael's client.
It's my client. Right? Yeah. I think Fox was at her house when. Right.
I have that clip. I have it in my Evernotes. It's that this is happening, and we are paying for this to happen. I have a card, and I. We know the CPL situation, and that just, we won't go into it, but I am livid. So no, we need to show people what's really going on, because they don't know, and I'm here to say y'all need to look at some things. That's all I'm saying.
And it's been, I think, I always talk about, like, because it's our issue. We talk about it. Perseveres to all their parts of our culture, society, the politics, and I think it Jeff will hopefully agree. It defines the division in our country right now. If you really chart it back, I think if you we identify like the Nixon era and the placing of marijuana on the Schedule I, despite the studies saying don't schedule it all, and who he was targeting, and. And how that just divided, and that's how the division of our electorate really was, and where we are right now.
Yeah.
And
wasn't the quote the ends and the hippies?
The liberals and the Jews and the protesters. Yes.
Yeah, that was our president.
Yep. Didn't you get the memo?
That was our president. And then there's Anslinger, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it goes way back. We're going to take you want alcohol, then we'll take. Yeah,
and things haven't changed in Michigan. I mean, look at this again. This voter ID thing. I mean, it's the targeting of poverty-stricken and specific minority groups through these types of legislation is completely inappropriate and wrong.
And that's the argument that I think is, and I get it, because I practiced law in Wayne County for a long time, and I see, I'm aware of the challenges that are taking place and how important the church is to the community, and it's unequivocal. And it's like,
which is disappointing, I have to say. And my mom, I grew up in the church. I'm from Gary, Indiana. I don't understand why they aren't collecting money for us, plain and simple. The people. Let's be real. You look around this room, and I'm a newcomer to this party. I haven't been involved in the legalization effort, and I'm in a room full of white men and a white woman, and you guys have been fighting this fight for what? 30, 40 years. So it's a shame to me, because we are the ones who are being locked up, disproportionate numbers, and you shouldn't have to watch 13 on Netflix to recognize what's gone on in our communities. Like, where are all of our black men? Oh, they're in jail.
Right. And for Am I Legalized, this is a unique thing for us to bring Q into the organization, because she's able to speak to a group of people that we really need to bring on board.
Yes.
This could be the group that would push us over the top in our fight.
That's what I said. Like, it's like unless it's just unless it's just straight out, money. You know what I mean? Unless it's just like, because I get the message, and I understand. Like, it's hard in the situations when you've in the era of like the drive-by shootings, which still take place, but like that whole where they're looking for leadership of some kind. Someone's got to put something together. It's like, stay away from the dope. Stay away from the dope. Don't go there. And I get that.
That
because
message hasn't worked in the last 40 years. So, I mean, are we going to keep giving that? I mean, drug rates are as high as they've ever been. They throw $10 billion a year at this problem, and nothing happens except a private prison system that feeds in a certain type of person.
Over and over and over again.
So but again, it's we and our community. I get that argument. I get the argument. Well, no, these kids should just stay away from this. Well, then let's keep them away from alcohol first.
Yes.
Let's start there. Not something that's been used for thousands of years.
Yeah.
But
well, that was. I mean, I was saying that's
on a
that's
tangent. I'm sorry.
No, you're right. I agree, and I was just saying, like, how do you break out of that? Like, your message of who's getting locked up, and why are these laws like that in the first place? They started to lock us up. They've executed that. That's what's happened in our communities. Let's just look at the facts. That is a message that the community. I don't know. And I think what's happening, like, in Wayne County right now with some of the businesses. I mean, in Detroit specifically, some of the businesses and how they didn't even attempt to try to, and it's created an antagonism that has backed things up a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I would like to believe that the community at some point would be embracing it. I think that they have a very unique opportunity. I think that they're in a position where they could actually say, we're not going to participate in this state program. I'm going to go out there. I think they could say, we're going to do our own thing. We got more patients, and we're going to set our own rules. We're going to do our own licensing.
I wish they would.
We're going to keep all the money and give it to the police, and no arrests for marijuana ever. And we're going to fund you. We're going to create a great police department to protect the dispensaries, the grows, and fight crime that's real crime. Like, that is like, that would sell.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but people fear what they don't know.
Yeah.
And if they have been taught by the people who they trust implicitly that this is wrong, then that's a powerful persuasion.
But you know what the other thing is? I'll tell you the other thing is, and this is a fact, that I may agree with, the lawyers that are black lawyer friends of mine who are, we agree on pretty much everything politically, but they have never smoked marijuana, because had they, the likelihood of them getting arrested was 15%.
And that's why I didn't.
Which they did. Right? You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
And it was just because it was like,
we've always known that there are certain rules for certain people.
I'm saying that their success was because, potentially that they didn't. Their ability to become a lawyer is because that was, driven into them by someone that, was looking out for them, and they just couldn't even think about it. They just put it out because they knew if they even tempted to go there, it wasn't that it was bad. It was just that arrest and throw. Yeah.
Right.
But
my mom is one of those people. My mom has seen me. My mom has seen me ill. She's seen me sick, and so my mom doesn't even drink. Definitely doesn't smoke, but she helped me make tinctures. And my mom is an usher at the church, and she's at the food bank at the church. I mean, she's always at the church. So I think that if we stop thinking of people as the religious community, and maybe just start looking at people as people, I think that, right, because, I have a lot of people who are, they go to church every Sunday, and they're on my Facebook page asking me what strain should they use for whatever. So I think that if we just explain to people what we're all about and what this plan is all about, and then and the facts are out there. I mean, everybody has a tablet now. All you have to say is Google this, and they'll find all the information they need.
awesome.
It really is. Is there have you, if you know, in terms of like appearances in other kind of media, like have you been getting people calling on you? Is there like been you find yourself being, you know, asked to participate on a different level than just the Am I Legalized? Is that going on a lot?
Well, people invite me to appear on their shows based on my involvement with Am I Legalized.
Right.
I mean, they've known I was an MS patient for 3 years. I haven't had too many people ask me to come on the radio really to talk about MS, even though I'm glad to do it. But no, it's I recognize that this is a controversial issue, but it's also an important one, and I think that so many people are waiting for a moment to come out and be open about it, and this is a good opportunity to sort of say, hey, if I'll do it, if you'll do it. So here I am.
You know, I'm interested a little bit if you would explain, you know, because it's something we don't really talk about, but the actual, you know, medical efficacy of, you know, specifically, you know, the conditions and symptoms and, you know, how it's affected it. If you know,
sure. From my limited medical knowledge, I can tell you that multiple sclerosis is an autoinflammatory disease of the central nervous system. So the spider cells that normally fight off foreign invaders are attacking the nerve endings around the nerves in my brain. So cannabis, and that's considered an inflammatory disease. Cannabis is an anti-inflammatory. It is also a neuroprotectant. And the treatments that they give people who have MS, if you're lucky enough to have your body respond to treatments, they're called disease-modifying treatments, and they suppress your immune system. Cannabis also suppresses your immune system. There have been studies where the efficacy of your disease-modifying treatments are usually around 30%. So in some studies, cannabis's efficacy has been rated at about 30%. So I am not advocating that anyone stop their disease-modifying treatments because we know that it has helped keep many people out of wheelchairs and prolong their mobility. But I'm saying that if you're looking for alternative treatments or even symptom relief, check out cannabis because it's working for me.
Yeah, and especially if something doesn't work. I mean, my son has an autoimmune condition as well. It's severe, and this is how we've treated it as well. But we've kept him on an immunosuppressive medication just because he can't come off of it. But without the cannabis, he relapses every single time. So a lot of times it can be used in combination with the pharmaceutical medication, and there's just some people that can't avoid it, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I announced my retirement, we had a doctor from Henry Ford come on, and he said that cannabis has been shown to actually affect the disease process of multiple sclerosis. So that was nice to have that medical, backing from right here in the D. So yeah.
It is the argument that there's not enough studies and it's a Schedule 1. Well, there's 25,000 published articles on PubMed, which is a verified, where everyone which is more studies than Ritalin. There's a bunch of statistics about like all the normal the common drugs, not nearly as many as cannabis, but that has traditionally been one of the diseases that has been identified as being effectuated by medical, by cannabis. I know, like Renee Wolf. Jamie, jump in on that, right? Longtime advocate. She, I think she got arrested for smoking marijuana in federal Congress building or something like that.
She did.
And, she
told the judge that she didn't want to shit her pants while she was in her representative's office.
That's my kind of lady. At least she was honest.
But this says, I don't know what this, but I feel like there's a lot, I think like when you look back at some of the studies, there's always been a lot of success, and even in the, even in the more, traditional journals, I think. Am I right?
About
just the that this it works for it's not just anecdotal.
No, not at all. I mean, about 43% of people with multiple sclerosis use MS. My my neurologist is now deceased, but he was the head of a medical school in Detroit and department chair and all of that. And when I said to him, I want to go on cannabis, and he said, how often are you using it already? And I was like, just about every day. And he says, okay, it'll help your spasticity. And it's rated for that. It's been proven to help the spasms in multiple sclerosis. No doctors, very few neurologists, especially those who specialize in multiple sclerosis, will say that it doesn't do that. It's just a fact. Even the MS Society, they won't have an official, that they don't officially endorse it, but they officially endorse people having the right to know about it.
Isn't that something? Nobody just wants to come out and just say,
because they get federal
but
funding.
You know what though? But the American Nurses Association did. Yeah.
Right.
Finally.
They want advocating for hospitals so they can use it in hospitals.
Oh, yeah?
That's what but they're going to have problems because a lot of them are
but still, you
religiously
think
owned.
But when I retired from the police department and got to talking to Michael, and I came on the show, and I remember talking to Jamie, like my prep that day before coming on the radio show. I was like, I don't want to discuss my own personal use.
You're right.
And so, but that's progressed.
It is. It's a process.
And
the first
I didn't come out one day and say, "Yep."
And now you're on. And now you're on.
It took me a while to come out.
Yeah. Now he's on national
feel
television
like it's okay.
talking about marijuana.
Right. Absolutely.
We're sitting there watching him just blow doobie after doobie by himself down at the end of the table.
Absolutely. You guys are a bunch of lightweights.
Patient room in the patient room.
But yeah, I think it's important for people, professional people, especially as visible as yourself or me as a former police officer, to come out and say, yes, it's okay. Yes, I do use it. I talk to my kids about it. I explain why I choose this medicine over another medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
If they don't get fired for it, though, that's the thing.
Right.
That's an interesting discussion. I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that because I'm sure you're dealing with kids and, looked up. Because is there discussions we're going to have? Like, you have to be honest with the kids. The kids, they know that it's not dangerous, and they're not buying it anymore. And if your parents are not honest with the kids, they're not going to trust you, and it's going to be a terrible relationship. How do we talk to them?
And here's the thing. I because I don't have children of my own, and my husband
pass on
has
that is a
two.
tough question.
Right, no. But no, because I'm an auntie, and my husband. He has two sons, and they all grapple with this question, and I just always want to say, you know what? When we were kids, our moms and dads always said, I can do it because I'm grown. And that was the end of the discussion. When did that change? It's like, no, you don't give your 5-year-old vodka. You don't give your 10-year-old weed. It's just, no, I am an adult. I'm paying the bills. And when you get your own house, you can do whatever legal too.
Amen.
And
Absolutely.
and I'm fighting to make this legal, and I'm going to show you the process. And so, no, I feel that this is wrong, and our government's doing blah blah blah. So we're going to petition to change it because that's what you do. So I don't get it. I guess that we live in crazy times, but I think times have always been crazy, and people want to protect their kids, and of course you should want to do that, but. Sometimes you got to just be like, shut up.
I'm
grown.
And at the end of the day, do we want our kids out there doing hard drugs? Because and this is and you lied to them about marijuana.
Yeah.
They figure it out, and now they say, "Oh, they must have been lying to me about it all," and that's the end of it.
The issues of course, prohibition. Prohibition will, for kids, like there's always, they want it, they're going to try to get it, and the risk of doing it is always potentially worse harm than if they had access to it and was able to do it in the confines of their own home. Arguably, I'm not for everything, but that's always the dilemma, and no one's advocating kids to use, drugs or, and MI Legals is 21 age and over?
It's 21 and over.
Right, okay.
But the important thing with MI Legalize is all the criminal sanctions for
kids,
minors are eliminated, and we allow the court to intervene, but not in issuing a criminal sanction to these kids, and it's going to help a lot of these kids avoid losing scholarships or getting a record
sure,
over.
They're going to experiment. We all did.
Yeah.
If they didn't, I would question what's going on with this kid. So.
Total surprise announcement. I thought it's worthwhile. Did you see they passed a law that they made the MIP
Rick
No,
Jones.
civil infraction.
Senator
Unbelievable.
Jones.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's.
I mean, they've only made X amount of dollars and gotten kids. There's some courts that.
That's one that sticks with you for long.
Well, it's supposed to be a first offense. You really don't even need a lawyer. I shouldn't say that. Well, I guess I can now that the law's changed. But you get like an automatic under advisement. And then what would happen is there's a couple of judges around here that if you picked up a second one, which happens quite a bit, they then, because you can't get locked up. It's a minor in possession. It's a minor. The point of it is you're underage, and you can't go to jail no matter what. So that's the way the law is. But these judges would find you in contempt of court for picking up, just make stuff up and send you to jail. Like this is some stuff in the, they litigate that. Like that's what happened to. They became there's an era where they would pour out the beer and drive you home. Then there's the era where you got to fight at school and you got a felony. And MIP, and you get kicked out of prom because people are drunk. They're doing PBTs and stuff, and kids lose their, scholarships and things. I mean, this is like what's happened. That's what prohibition creates. I don't know. I just think it's so hypocritical. It's just outrageously hypocritical that people.
It is, and there needs to be safeguards because let's be honest. There are adults, parents that do really stupid shit, and it needs to be prevented. But at the end of the day, the parenting needs to be done by the parent, and by making this a civil infraction, it allows that to happen, and it foregoes all this horrible.
You know what they need to do?
Nonsense that will correct.
They got that house party ticket that they drop on the parents. They got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
That's what they got to get. No, because that's like the other joke. Because the kids sneak stuff in and then they come out of the house drunk. Where were you? They go over to the house and you know what I'm saying. I've represented parents on. It's terrible.
But the MI legalized proposal says that if somebody sells to a minor, it's still a felony.
Yeah, they're going to jail.
They're going to jail.
Can the MI legalized add the prohibition of alcohol from
crime?
Just kidding.
No,
I know.
It'll be a misdemeanor.
What if it's a teenager that sells to another teenager? Because that's mostly what's going to happen. Because those people shouldn't be felonized.
It's someone over 18. Over 18 sells to a minor. So, minor to minor
17 to 17 is what?
17 to 17 is a civil infraction.
That's a good business to be in.
It is. $100 fine. Except
that would actually fuel the underage black market. Melly gonna get a $100 ticket if I get caught.
Yeah, well, but if it's on school property, there's additional sanctions.
Thinking this thing through now, you could probably set up when you're 13, 14, go 3 good years.
It's all going to get
hand it off to someone a couple years, your brother, he's a couple years younger for you. There's no risk. Why not? Feed the every single. No, okay.
It's all going to get drawn to the attention of the parents.
I retract all of that.
And then the parents.
It's ultimately going to. It's going to create a free market because you take all.
What about the 17-year-olds selling to the parents? Is that okay? Would that be a civil infraction?
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I believe that would be a civil infraction, but the other way would be just bad. That would not work. Someone would go to jail.
Well, of course, that's what I'm saying.
Someone would go to jail.
As long as you keep track of the trail of the money, you'll be okay.
That's right.
I'm just trying to.
No, it's good, but you take the penalty down $100, and all of a sudden they're not doing enforcement anymore because it's just not worth it, and there's no seizing of assets and all this other ridiculous nonsense. That all goes away. It's the first step in ending this nonsense war. And it's going to be awesome, and hopefully the Supreme Court takes up the case.
Employment and housing protections become stronger from there. Hopefully.
Well, I know there's a backup plan for this, and let's talk about that a little bit, because other than winning at the Supreme Court or thinking that they're going to grant this writ.
There's still the Eastern District case by the circulators. And
that's got no chance. It's got a good chance, too, I think. They don't care about our issue. We're going to have to get the petition, let's be honest. We're playing the legal game. No, I have very little confidence in the court system. At 9:50 tonight. Tomorrow I'll be a different person, but today I'm grumpy about it. But I'm kidding. The backup plan, of course, is the relaunch of the MI. That's what I was getting at. So please, is what
April 1st would be MI legalized 2018 kickoff. We'll launch another petition.
I know.
We did one. We'll do another one. It's a lot of work, but we did it once. We'll do it twice.
We're raising money in the next. I'm sorry. We have an event coming up on Sunday, but is that okay to announce it now? Or do you want me to? Okay, December 11th, Sunday. From 2 to 8, we'll be at Crystal restaurant, bar, grill, whatever it's called, on Middle Belt in Westland. There'll be some good music. Our own Nick Zattel from the MI Legalized board. He is really good.
He is good.
And Razor Ray Reyes, he also has like a new release coming out, so he's kind of promoting that, plus helping out MI Legalized at the same time.
Wow.
And
will he be signing buttocks?
Wow, I'd be really impressed.
He would easily and without even remote hesitation sign a buttocks if it was placed in front of him. And no matter what type of animal or gender or whatever it is, yeah.
Any buttock. You'd have to keep him away from a buttock.
Yes, he'll be asking people to sign their buttocks.
That sounds like an outstanding lineup, and I'd say I'd be impressed, but I know that you've made no efforts to try to bring him on this show, so I can't even...
He has band practice on Thursday nights, or he would be coming on the show. And then there will be a comedian there, too, Joey Derderian. And he's...
funny.
He's supposed to be. He's a comedian, so...
Well, you didn't audition him?
No.
Really?
I know him, actually, but I've never heard his routine.
And he said, again, allegedly funny, so he can't even confirm that.
And he's showing up and helping out our campaign that day, so I'm happy with it.
Let me know if I got to get the band back together for one of these.
Yeah, there's no reason not to, right?
And let me be clear before, because I may have been misinterpreted.
There's food there also, and a lot of the board members will be there, too.
The legal pros and the arguments in both of these legal remaining open issues are unbelievable. I cannot say. I mean, they're right on. They address all the issues, and if the world was how it should be, and the courts were positioned as they should be, both they both would have already prevailed. And I think that the way they're written, they both knock it out of the park, and legally they should be granted. But I just am making the context of
You sound like the Federalists.
Well, we're waiting to find out from the federal district court judge if we're going to get a hearing or not soon, right?
Yeah, well, she's going to need to rule on their motion to dismiss, so we'll get an order.
If she doesn't dismiss, presumably she's going to want to hear more about what's going on. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, then if she doesn't dismiss, then we're in discovery.
Okay, Judge Parker? Yeah, that's our judge.
In Flint, where we went, yes.
In the voter disenfranchisement, the racial disparity issue obviously has been raised now, and that's been ruled on. As you brought up, the federal courts have been paying attention to that, and she's a good judge for that.
She is a good judge for that. It's because we got the two good judges the first time. This next case we have got a terrible judge.
I mean, I really wish she would have heard our original case, because I feel like, she clearly is pro civil rights and pro voter right. And
Parker, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, and
she's a Wayne County Recorder's Court judge.
Yeah, she went on the record saying that this is something that's worth getting to the bottom of.
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
And she clearly understood the case.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of the other courts didn't even bother to read it.
Well, no, because their decisions were politically motivated, and you take the politics out of it, and you actually look at the facts of the case objectively, and it's clear that voters in the state of Michigan were denied their First Amendment right here.
That's a fact, no doubt.
And I know Michael really hates when people's First Amendment rights are trampled. It boils his blood. He's turning red right now. There's steam rolling off of his
It's that
temple.
Third Amendment that really pisses me off.
The Fourth Amendment really is not. That's like.
The third is the next path to.
They're all bad, but the Fourth Amendment.
The third is the key to the kingdom, man. That says they can't come camp out on your farm.
Yeah. Quartering
their troops.
Yeah. Which is what they're doing. That's the other.
Yeah.
We gotta start arguing that.
Yeah, we need something.
That's what's got nothing on the books. Nothing on the books on that one. Like,
Third Amendment, brother, that's where I'm going.
Is that the core of the commandeering?
Yeah.
Hand in hand with commandeering and the entire, what did they call writs of assistance, where they could just, the roving warrants, where they could go into any warehouse, any home, any whatever, looking for the contraband of the time, which was tea and tobacco and whatnot. And they were allowed to keep part of the forfeiture proceeds. No, this goes way back, brother.
This is
Third Amendment. Trust
the records search warrant.
It is.
Because the records are guilty of.
Yeah,
the contraband records.
Speaking of the guilty, did you guys hear Joe Arpaio is no longer the sheriff of Maricopa County?
Yeah, it was kind of
What happened?
He's out. He got voted out.
But what, is he going to be part of the Trump administration?
He might be. He might be.
Immigration
I'm
right.
sure he's his advisor on immigration
Right.
policy. But yeah, he's toast. So
don't you wish he was still sheriff?
yeah, probably not.
I also saw that Ed what's his name? Ed Cherpinski, who was a cannabis attorney to some degree, is a
Civil rights minded guy.
civil rights minded. He may have even been. I don't want to misspeak, but I thought he had a little run with the got a history. But he had some. He won his. I mean, beat the count of the felony driving. I think convicted him of a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Terrible.
At one point, years ago, and he'll let you know about it in full detail if you ever meet him.
I've met him. I know.
He was
Yeah.
in prison for having under a gram or two worth of cannabis because he was kind of targeted by some people.
Yeah, and then he sued him afterwards or something like that, right? Yeah. So
that does suck. Me too.
She still got convicted of the misdemeanor, which she was probably to report.
But yeah, things are gonna start changing here dramatically very soon. Very soon. In what way? Well, another month, and we're going to see exactly what type of federal policy is established through our new Attorney General. And I don't think we're going to be really happy. Everybody says that Trump is not going to target states
I like the way
rights here, but Jeff Sessions is not a friend of us. And
I like the way everybody says
states' rights,
because nobody knows, but everybody says. And I'm not saying that optimistically or pessimistically, but it doesn't look good. I know that. I realize that.
When they keep saying states' rights,
when we have to argue states' rights, it can't be good.
Well, the states' rights would mean that if Michigan, what happened? If Michigan wants to, what's this here? If Michigan wants to have their own state thing, they should have their own. Or any state they want to do it. That's it. It's for them.
Well, it's a Republican Party platform.
Crucible. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah, really. All of the Republican candidates stood up and said, "Leave it to the states." Hillary was standing up saying, "Make it Schedule 2, maybe. Elect me first, and then I'll take care of you."
Which doesn't really help anybody. And I'm not saying.
But the question is,
this is not even close to a suggestion that the alternative was better.
But Hillary wouldn't change the DOJ policy, which is the most important thing.
Correct.
What happens
That's
now,
true.
We don't
Right.
know.
And Sessions, although Sessions is on the record saying he wished the DA, wants the DA to stay out of the states and let the states take care of their own business. So. But now he has ultimate power.
He said he liked the Klan until he found out they smoked marijuana.
Which
That's about the worst.
That's
about the worst.
There's a lot to that statement. There's a lot wrapped up in there. He's like,
and none of it's good. None of it's reveals anything positive.
No, it goes to the Southern white neurosis.
No, and I was at my Thanksgiving dinner that I left after an argument. I shouldn't even admit this. My comment. The response to that statement was, well, he later prosecuted the KKK or something like that. Is this part of his history, or is that just that may just be some of the fake news that goes on that
I've
side?
said everything positive that I know to say.
Didn't he also say that the ACLU and the NAACP
Yes.
were un-American?
Yeah, they were like terrorist groups.
I forgot that.
And didn't he call the African American man who worked beneath him boy?
Yeah, well, there was
didn't he?
that.
Yeah.
He seems like the type.
Or is that fake news? I'm sorry.
Oh, he also said good.
I'm out of it. It's been a while since I'm out of it.
Good people. He also said
right. Don't
good
smoke
people
marijuana.
don't smoke marijuana.
Absolutely.
And he said that recently.
I saw that. I gave you that.
Well, April, right? I clipped that one too. That's in Evernote.
There's a YouTube thing of him, getting all over a U.S. attorney from California, who he's asking about what's been going on, and the good old days of Nancy Reagan, and I was just talking to her, and just say no. And during that period, we were hard on it and locking people up, and 25% marijuana smoking. I don't know. It was but I see this as being his mess, the selling point.
Could not be more.
It's all this other, go back to Reagan era, and lock him up, and the country's so much better because 25% people smoke less now. Everyone, this is the whole. This is their messaging.
Maybe it's only Nixon can go to China kind of a thing, and he'll actually go all the way back to '72 and say basically, on this federalism issue, leave it to the states. Only Nixon could do it, and he's the heir apparent
to this carnage. No, you're right. Their only way out, if they're going to do it, is just say this. We're Republicans. It's a states' rights issue. That's and then try to tax it or something.
Yeah, but
it's not the priority issue.
You're more likely to see shooty world.
It will.
Well, if that's what I'm saying, Sessions and shooty is a
here's the wild card, right? The wild card is GW Pharmaceuticals and how much money they have. If they put enough nickels in the slot,
that's what it is.
They'll get policy to change.
It's a totally different game because it's up for the highest bidder. Yep. It's never been like that before. You know what I mean? Every aspect of it's always been based on, I don't know, I think, part of the government's desire to want to control and make money from it and just bad policy and, for
control.
Control. Right. But now control is about to be given up and to whom and how far is now open for the highest bidder because we're in a world where millionaires are getting appointed to,
Who's a bigger bidder than the United States military-industrial prison police complex?
That's who brought it off up to this
the
point.
War machine. Who more? And that they would voluntarily let this go. We'll see. We're dealing with generals.
They
now.
might let
3 or 4 of the cabinet members.
They may let it go to Schedule 2 because Schedule 2 they still get to arrest plenty of people. Plenty of people go to jail every day.
They'll have more resources. They'll have more resources. You know why?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? Let's believe people when they tell us who they are, right? They're going to build a wall, and they're going to fund it by going to war with the drug cartels and using civil asset forfeiture. If we listen to what they say they're going to do, that's what they're saying. So let's not stick our head in the sand.
That's the nexus.
I mean, we've got 3 generals, that are going to be nominated now for the cabinet. You've got a war cabinet, and you got a drug war. So now what?
The king is the attorney general. He's the one in charge of the army.
That's right. And he's a racist, bigoted asshole that hates marijuana.
I said it was sunny out, didn't I? It's sunny days.
That sums it up.
And I said his only way out of this is to say, I'm a Republican and our policy is to leave it to the states.
Yeah, that's his only way out. Otherwise,
that'll happen.
Otherwise,
well, at least we can call him out on the. At least we can call him out on the inconsistencies in the stance. I mean, they support states' rights. You mentioned the Arizona.
You need a block of Republicans, particularly in the Senate, that are going to be willing to break on policy. Unfortunately, the Democrats are simply not good on drug policy for the most part. Although this administration,
not federally,
Joe Biden.
I would say the Obama administration has been.
Joe Biden has invented civil asset forfeiture.
I mean, I think that may have been the problem. Maybe Obama would have gone further. You know what I mean?
I don't think he can. I think in the last interview with Bill Clinton with Rolling Stone, he said, my biggest regret is that I couldn't legalize marijuana. And Obama just said the same thing, effectively. The president doesn't have the power to do it anymore. He had power to close down Guantanamo Bay.
You know what he did do? He canceled the he canceled the contracts.
Wait. I want to hold on. So, are you telling me that President Obama could not simply issue an executive order descheduling or rescheduling marijuana.
That was never going to happen.
I know, but it seems to me like it's completely within the power of the President of the United States to change the scheduling of a controlled substance.
Well, it's actually apparently not, because both he and Bill Clinton have expressed their deep regret that they weren't able to do it.
I'm sure there were more marijuana arrests under the Clinton administration, I think, than any point in time.
I rest my case.
It could mean politically, not that they didn't have the power to, but it could mean they didn't feel so they had enough support or other surrounding.
There is so much of the war that is funded by prohibition.
I mean, the private prison system flourished under Clinton. He's not going to stop the pipeline to that. I mean, at the same time,
Obama believes that Congress has to do it,
but he's
for it to stick.
For it to stick, but Congress can unstick it the next year. What kind of stick it? No, it should be done. I'm just saying it's controlled. It's controlled by law enforcement. That's a non-negotiable. You saw how they walked into the Michigan legislature and said, "Hey, this transport bill. This is not negotiable. We're not going to treat this like And think about that on $1 trillion scale.
And they're serious, and they have so much power. It's incredible.
And that's why president's hair turns white.
It does.
It really does.
Because they got a gun to their head.
Yeah.
It's only explanation.
I mean, there was a great deal of there's some prison reform. He cut off a bunch of the contracts. That didn't renew a lot of because it's it's like they had the policy with the marijuana laws and in Holder instituted that policy where they would use their discretion instead of charging
Let's give police more discretion.
No, this is the prosecutor's discretion.
Let's give
part
the
of
prosecutor more discretion.
Prosecutorial discretion. That's
they
great.
have it anyways.
I know they
but
do.
they're gonna the way that they were going to deal with not criminalizing this was to. Yeah. I mean, I had a case that was affected by it where they said they dropped one of the mandatory charge. The judge then had the discretion to do whatever he wanted, and he gave my guy probation on a case that for years and years and years and years before that people would get a mandatory 5, and there's no way around it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Because they charge you with the manufacturing of marijuana, and then the manufacturing of marijuana plants over 1,000. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or over 100, and that then jacks you up to these mandatory minimums. And what the policy was that we're going to use our discretion to charge the amount over. So I don't know. I mean, listen. The raids stopped in California. The Colorado industry is somewhat. There's some tax. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I think,
it still can be bad. They could.
Well, I'm just saying in terms of Obama. I'm talking about
progress.
Obama's policy.
His policy hasn't been horrible.
Okay, that's all. I mean, I think
it hasn't been great.
Better than.
It was better than.
It would have been better than a Republican in this position from the last 8 years.
Yeah,
we agree on that. Okay,
for sure.
So it's the best that it could have been.
This is worse.
And he
than
could have been
Chris
a little better.
Christie.
I don't know. I mean, he's in a tough position. I think it's
who, Chris Christie.
No.
Yeah. Also,
Chris Christie is in a bad position.
He really is.
He has the lowest governor approval rating.
Well, he should. He is a miserable human being.
He just vetoed a bill that would have barred solitary confinement for pregnant women and mentally ill, and he vetoed it.
He almost makes Jeff Sessions seem like a good choice.
No, he doesn't. Because Jeff Sessions, at least Christie isn't like just total outward bigot. Christie is a horrible.
Sessions
he's probably a bigot, just not outward about it.
Right, he's just not outward about it. But
he's on tape somewhere.
Yeah, he's something.
I like the fact that they threw him from the bus, threw him under the bus.
My mom was from Alabama.
My mom's Mississippi.
That's the way. He needs to be under the bus.
Under the bus. That's where he belongs.
We are.
We're over.
This out.
All right, fine.
Really.
All right, we'll just wrap it up right there. Thank you.
Wrap it up.
All right, thank you for listening, everybody. We're going to close it all down right here.
We need to listen to Chicago.
We do? Okay.
I remembered. Let's close it with some Chicago, and we'll call her a night. It's been crazy week.
Oh my God.
and everybody is milling about.
10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Everyone, and it's cold.
Are you ready yet? Just turn the radio on and try.
Thank you, everybody. Well, thanks for coming. I know you like putting it in the
back.
Hey, good night. Cue the music.
I'm trying. Huh?
Are you taking off? Have a good night.
Just press play.
Okay. Sunday. All right.
Thank you.
Dead air.
Oh, no, don't.
He's already here. Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
T-Pain is getting nervous.
Stairs have been removed?
And cue the music.
Waiting for the break of day, searching for something to say, flashing lights against the sky, giving up, I close my eyes. Should I try to do some more? 25 or 6 to 4.
Goodbye.
Feeling like I ought to sleep. Spinning room is sinking deep. Searching for something to say. Waiting for the break of day. 25 or 6 to 4. 25 or 6 to 4.
I'm with you. It doesn't matter where we are or what we're doing. I'm with you, that's all that matters. Time passes much too quickly when we're together laughing. I wish I could sing it to you. Oh no, I wish I could sing it to you.